Devendra.
Maybe I can start then.
Yeah, now
Okay.
you can start. Yes.
Well, nice. Thank you. I know it's Pratikam and all that. It's
Okay.
Baki
Yeah.
Pratikam for this, so very good. I'll do mine later because I just interrupt, so I'll do mine later. Okay, so we're
Mhm.
going to talk about contemplation, and we particularly going to talk about the Charkasai, and then we'll
Mhm.
compare with the modern clinical neuroscience approach and
Mhm.
results, and see if we can understand from two ways. So on the one side is contemplation on growth, mind, Maya, log. And the other side is addressing some of these using the medical term, which is cognitive behavioral therapy and others related to that. So what we're going to talk about is the ancient lens, which is the ancient wisdom culture, of which Brexit comes from there, the Jain Agams. And their focus is obviously untangling the karmic cycle through introspection and observation of the subtle body.
Mhm.
The terminology we use is Chitta, Psyche, Kashaya, which is the four we are going to talk about, and of course, diluting Karmoinia Karma that seems to drive that. The modern lens is using cognitive behavioral therapy and neuroscience to understand some of these vices. And then they use improved observation of mental states and regulation of the autonomic nervous system and identify maladaptive loops that seem to regenerate and get you in trouble. And they talk about cognitive distortions, physiological arousal, and executive function. Uh, if you synthesize, then the psychic purification is that this includes neurological regulation. So both systems independently, perhaps with some influence in the modern lens, have figured out very similar pathways to help. So it's very similar. Okay. So the other look at is the root of the process we're looking at, the affliction, whatever the condition we're looking at, or kasais as cognitive distortions. So node one is a trigger. So in our dharma, we call rag and dvesh. That's the main root cause underlying. And in the Western world, clinically, it's called maladaptive thought or dispositional craving. This craving, constant craving out of need, out of current situation or current setting, excessive and repetitive. And then you get the passion. So I'm going to, in James, we do kashaya, anger, ego, deceit, greed. Clinically, we dysregulate and we're very aroused and we're constantly yearning and looking. You almost see in the face and the expression, they're looking, yearning, and wanting. And then the next step in Jainism is you bond karma and therefore monia karma. And in the clinical side, you get destructive behavior and reinforced neural pathway. So become a very negative person. So basically, Kashai means gain of worldly life. It's one translation. And so you can see that you're same. You're gain worldly life, you're regenerating much more deeper sense. And in the Western sense, is in this life, in this particular being and your status that you're regenerating suffering in this loop, and you cannot get out of the loop. It's very similar concepts. All right. So now we're going to integrate into it. So how do we do it? Well, obviously we do our usual meditation steps. We do the first, second, third step. And we talked about already some. I'm just going to go through perhaps the more important part of that. Kayatsug is one that is then getting us deeper in relaxation, body, and to give up. And it's a conscious, systematic abandonment of the physical body through deep stillness and relaxation. So you're aware, awake in doing this. And in science and clinical practice, they use relaxing of the muscles also and remaining perfectly still. And by doing this, both methods trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, which we talked about many times before. And this then reduces your stressors, your cortisol, your adrenaline, all of the ones that will drive your anger, you're calming them down. You see other benefits, heart rate variability, reduced heart rate, but these are the factors that govern that. And so now you're in a better state to observe the mind without reacting, and perhaps then start affecting change that you want to see. The second step we do, was not my talk today, but certainly is Leshadian, is one of the ones which can be the neurochemicals. So the first one is more a physical body. This is a neurochemical regulation. So again, you do your Gyan Kendra, Jyoti Kendra, you can look at the colors, aura, so you're affecting those. And an equivalent version, and even ours, we talk about the neuroendocrine chemistry, the equivalent version of that in medicine is related to that, and we'll talk about next. So this is one we already know. We do focusing on different areas and our kendras. And in the next step, we talk about anupreksha, which is one that perhaps we're going to talk about more today. And that is where we are breaking the loop of kashais by positive affirmation, right? So we repeated contemplation, and you generate counter vibrations. You're opposing, rather than suppressing, you're opposing it. You're saying, I'm not negative, whichever that is, but I am this, I'm positive. And so your counter vibrations is kind of like the approach. And you systematically dismantle your negative kasais. The clinical influence is almost identical. The cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the main one they use, also doesn't waste time fighting negative emotion, which aroused. In fact, if you fight it, you might create more problems, it seems, in the Western world. So they will instead focus on the opposite, reflecting the impermanence of greed and how amity can combat anger. And so by repeated autosuggestion, very much like what we're talking about, healthy neural pathways and physically reinforced changes occur in the brain. So you can see it's very, very similar. All right, so then if you look at the pillars, just to summarize, we have the quiet surg, and then modernly we talk about autonomic down regulation and by relaxing your muscles when you're sitting, then deep breathing, of course. So that's your physical regulation, right? The second is emotional. So you reappraise. So we do aura meditation, and modern equivalent is endocrine regulation, targeted emotional reframing. So emotional, somatic emotion, and then it's a cognitive, which is your thinking. Then we work on that, which is where anupreksha comes in, or contemplation comes in, autosuggestion. And current Western medicine uses CBT, which is very much a similar thing, constructed in a different way. Again, the same goal. So you can see lots of similarities. And if you look at this in a simple format, the kashais arise and change them. In cognitive therapy, there's a negative automatic photograph. So they don't understand karma and kashai necessarily, but they see that randomly negative thoughts keep coming. They don't have an understanding where it comes from, at least not a good frame of reference, but it keeps coming. And so we understand that perhaps better because of our teaching. Then we pause to contemplate, right? So the spiritual nature of the body. So we understand the root cause, the karma, the rag dvesh, and we understand that. It gives us a head start, and we have a better grasp. Just pause to assess how it's affecting you, how your mind and thinking is affected, more limited. We would then, of course, do the antidote, and they also do a similar thing. They shift to positive. So there's some similarities, but we have a head start in understanding the basis a little bit more firmly. All right. So let's talk about anger. So anger, Krodh, the fire of destruction. So basically, unmet desires and blocked goals and breach trust. There's some of the common reasons they might get angry. Now, this is, of course, nimit. We're thinking karmas arising and making angry, but certainly in terms of nimit, we can talk about it this way. And this is considered destructive fire in agams, and that annihilates virtues like judgment, love, forgiveness, and of course, it can generate based on intensity ammonia karma. And the illusion is that anger is a secondary emotion. It's actually reacting upon a prior attachment or rag. So even that, and then before that, of course, it's your karma. So in ours, we would do Shama or Maitri for friendliness. We cultivate that activity. We do this non-reaction kind of techniques, and we discipline on conscious intention rather than impulsive reaction. So the inner heat, we cool the inner heat. In science or in the clinical world, they found something similar. So in a study of a meta-analysis report 2024, reviewing anger management, they found very interesting findings that if you tell them how to vent anger, there's this old concept that if you're angry, just vent it, let it out, don't hold it in. It's better for you if you vent it out, which is you perpetuate it by sort of working with it. And you're actually aroused more. It actually doesn't seem to work. However, if you conversely suppress it by looking at your relaxation, deep breathing, and the positive side, the counter, right? Then you relax, just like Kartsug would also. So even in science, they see this. We would say Kartsug, they would just do relaxation. So studies show that that works fairly well, reinforcing what we've been taught in our sutras and this course. So basically, a stimulus recognition, you get a functional understanding to understand the boundary and the anger is attempted to protect. There's some reason you're getting angry, try and protect something that you want, desire, or previous issues. And what we do is try and disrupt the rumination. We perseverate. I want to do this. Angry. Why did this to me? Why she to me? Why the car did this to me? Why is the world against me? Whatever it is, you keep perseverating, and we want to break that, and you get therapeutic outcome. So both methods kind of do that, but in different places. Okay. Ego and pride. So, Man. So this is the pathology of constriction. So if you look at this image, you basically want to get to the point where pure consciousness is in charge, and your ego is very constricted, very little and little and little and smaller. Generally, ego is a subtle modification of the mind, become corrupt, is one way of looking at it, to rigid identification with lower and external attributes like wealth, status, appearance, luck. We basically attach ego to that. I'm special. And then when you do that, your mind is unreceptive to new knowledge because you think you know. You are less polite, right? You destroy politeness because you think you're owning or you're on top. And you invite self-destruction because you got a false sense of superiority, which is correct. The ancient antidote, the wisdom culture, what we taught is we do vinay, humility, right? So vinay is how you would counter that by contemplation. You recognize the infinite nature of the consciousness in oneself and break the rigid boundaries of your constricted self to become more open. In the clinical studies, they focus on a virtue-based psychosocial adaptation model. And in theirs, rather than say that ego is bad, they kind of break it into an authentic, right, which is appropriate and ego-driven, right? So there's an arrogance and entitlement when it's ego-driven, and that's what makes it bad. So they also, however, teach the same thing. They cultivate humility and integrity, which is exactly what Vinay. And they have a concept of fragile ego, and they're trying to fortify that. Otherwise, you get depressed and anxious. Humility is considered not submission, it's actually a buffer. So this humility now is seen as a buffer, not submission, which would otherwise, being the meek and not responsive and not reacting was seen perhaps as a weakness in the past. Now it's seen as a strength in the Western eyes, very much as we believe. So what they're trying to do is make your authentic pride. Let's say that you're a good teacher or a good professor or you're a good worker, and in that realm of work, you should have good pride, you did a good job, your status and your integrity shown. I describe this as a authentic pride or adaptive regulation. It's normal, healthy, emotional, based on actual achievement, and therefore you've got a rock solid base, and you will not fall off easily by external stressors. Whereas if it's ego-driven, there's actually no substance. It's just your ego. And ego-driven, you're easily broken, pushed over, you easily get disrupted, antisocial conduct, you're trying to defend it, you don't actually have it, you're trying to push harder, and you'll crash and you'll not get your goal, right? Another looking at it is humility and integrity bolster your arch. So even if you have a fragile ego and external stresses, you can withstand it. And both the VPAM and emotional regulation method achieve that. So it's a good way to imagine how we can strengthen ourselves by contemplating. And here we do contemplation as we're taught. We don't need to go to a psychologist and have therapy. And of course, our roots are deeper and our goals are even higher. So you can see the power of our methods. But science supports that. Third is deceit or Maya, illusion of attachment. Root again is just like greed, deceit is fundamentally a form of attachment. It involves manipulating circumstances to gain or protect an object of desire. Symptoms manifest as crooked conduct, constant concealing of your faults. Deceit person loses their ability to perceive reality. So they often see things in their eye, and the deceit overtakes them, and then it grows and grows and grows into more lies. And so, of course, the antidote is the arjav, or honesty, simplicity, straightforwardness. Techniques is mindfulness, or being not being lazy or being focused. And again, your conscious recognition of the impulse, you actually bring the opposite. You say, I don't have it. It's not my soul. My soul is actually the opposite. It's honest and simple and straightforward. So that contemplation strengthens that, and you'll free yourself away from deceit slowly but surely. Right? And then in the clinical study, they found a very similar thing, at least some additional data. If you maintain deception, it's a real drain to your brain. You have to constantly think, scheme, work, protect your lie, make the lie realistic so that nobody can break the lie because you've been consistent all along. And you say the next thing, next day, you build on the lie. It's a lot of effort and drainage. Your mental power is used just to maintain that. If you're honest or moral identity, then you preserve your mental energy. So a lot of studies have shown that that's a huge difference. And again, it shows that the drainage will actually make your bandwidth so affected that you're prone to this drain because you're fixated on extrinsic goals, status and money, and then you lie and cheat. And so you're constantly living that life. So to strengthen that by positive affirmation makes you honest, and that becomes your default choice. And then reduce your stress. Another look at is this. When you have a high load, you have a lot of stress. You constantly, lots of connections. Your brain's doing this constantly, putting energy, effort, and really getting quite affected. So to maintain that's extremely stressful. So use a mathematical survey, like you'll see how much energy is wasted. It's really quite impressive how much lies and deceits and building on that can affect you. Okay. And the last one, greed, last but perhaps the worst, not the least in this setting, the root of karmic bondage. So again, it's an insatiable desire for more, again by Ragdvesh, and the delusion that external accumulation will solve internal lack. So if I keep getting more, I'll get more status, and I'll be better off. And that illusion makes you go more. If you're more, you get even more. So more begets even more. This is kind of a reverse logic. And it destroys peace and happiness and prevents giving and sharing. And you, as an individual, you're constantly unsatisfied. You constantly want more. So what's the opposite? Well, contentment or santosh and non-possessiveness. And again, you let go of the fear and security that drives hoarding, so fearlessness, and you give up this flexibility to be content with what is strictly necessary, nothing more. And then that'll help you break your karmic bondage. Right. So this is, of course, the hardest one. Now, in the studies, we find a similar thing. It's very interesting. If you have a dispositional greed, as described, it turns out that your brain when it's normal, it's healthy, flexible, and there is full amount of gray matter all around here. Full amount of matter. And when you get rigid, greedy, and you monitor them with measures that are psychological scoring that are validated, and you measure their brain, you'll see actually less gray matter is depleted. So you're small and more focused, and you become more selfish and narrow-minded. And that narrow-minded is not just a mental thing; it's a physical thing. You actually can see that in the imaging. So that selfish decision-making patterns will backfire because clearly you can't make the same decisions that are a brain that's fully empowered can make. You make limited decisions and end up doing less well, just in general sense. Okay, so disposition of greed causes severe depressive symptoms. So if you have greed, you loss of general interest because you're narrow-minded. Your well-being is affected because of constant drive, and then you get some depression symptoms. So lots of studies have shown that that connection is there, which fits with our ancient wisdom culture. So in summary, then you have growth, which is destructive, and you got high arousal. People are perseverating and constantly active. You can almost see that in the face. The cortisol and adrenaline, you can see that in the face, and the acting and the movement. And of course, opposite shama or forgiveness and other similar entities. And you downregulate. It's the clinical therapy, it's a Jain therapy, or Prachadhyan. Ego, again, constriction of consciousness. You're narcissistic, you like yourself, you're entitled, your ego is fragile. You constantly need to be fed. Your ego needs to be fed all the time. And exhausting, where if you become humble, Vinay, and virtue-based adaptation, then you will release that. And Maya, again, crooked conduct, concealing, and again, it's extremely difficult, high load, you're constantly churning, trying to build on the lie to make it more solid. And you fix an extrinsic world because you're looking, seeing somebody catches you out also. Again, opposite contemplation, honesty, and you get moral identity formation, which is a very similar thing in the clinical CPT therapy. And law of lack was insatiable craving, karmic anchor. Again, disposition of greed and your rigidity, you become very rigid. Santosh, contentment, and just contemplating that. And of course, in the CBT, we have flexibility, which is making more absolute spine. So that's basically it. So those are the arousals, angles, and rigidity that this summarizes that oversee these. So very important contemplations, I think, for all of us, including myself. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you, doctor, for the wonderful talk regarding the four kashayas, which are the basic emotions, or you can say the main emotions are two, that is rag and dvesh, attachment and aversion. And these are the different expressions of those two main bestial instincts. And you have very well compared with the behavioral psychology or cognitive therapy. So it is true that whenever emotions come into play, they distort our
Yeah, I
thinking
find it very
process
interesting
or
that how close the Western therapy is. You know, it picks on. I think they find it
yes,
themselves, but very similar.
yes. So it is a really very good, and you are the you are showing how to present the things. So we are learning from you, and I need not to make any more comment for your lectures. But if somebody has any comments or any question, they can raise. Rakesh. So yeah, why Rakesh ji and other people cannot speak? All are muted, or what is the reason?
No, I
Mm,
thought it was an excellent presentation, and I think it makes a very strong case for adaptation of these Jain meditation techniques, Preksha meditation, more and more into the mainstream medical field, because there is so, as Dr. Devendra has shown, there is so much correlation, and the meditation Preksha Dhyan is so much safer than what is the term? It's I mean, we didn't talk about any medicines here, medications or anything, but CBT, we did talk about that, which is very similar to the meditation practice. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Devendra.
Yeah, my focus was obviously on contemplation, but I did touch on the Lesha, which and I think meditation obviously is very important part of this, the Kartsug and the meditation, and it's all related. I think that what I like about our approach is our goals are higher, right? Because we understand karma and we understand spirituality, then you get these for free. I think it's almost like yeah. But I think it's combination. But the goal, studies.
The goal, as we look at the physical aspect of it, the health effects of these techniques, I mean, we are reaching the same goal with both techniques, right? We are going even further with meditation and Preksha Dhyan. We obviously have higher goals, but the intermediate, the side effect, benefits of it, we are achieving anyways.
Yeah, and if we start this, somebody who becomes more thoughtful, become more compassionate. I think it's like I think where you light the seed of light, you'll see other benefits. So of course, I mean, and I think so. So this is why it supersedes what CBT does. I agree with you. I think this is superior. Just as objectively, I'm not biased, but just looking at the data, I think this is superior. And also it's free. Once you learn, you can perpetuate.
Right. Free, and also at the same time, what I was trying to say is CBT, I mean, these cognitive based therapies are pinpointed to one condition, right? They are narrow, focused, whereas Preksha meditation and these other techniques, the spiritual techniques, are much broader because we have higher goals. They bring in unseen benefits. In addition to just solving one problem, they bring in other benefits that are not seen easily but can be felt, and more durable, long-lasting, and farther reaching. That's what I was trying to say.
No, I think you're right. It's more holistic. I can't underestimate the power of these. As we do this course, even I'm uncovering more power to this than I'd realized.
So it makes us very strong case for its adaptation into the medical world, or the therapy world. Why don't we do this? We are just only doing CBT, one thing. Why don't we do this? Meditation based techniques.
And that goes back to what we're saying, that we need very good RCTs, because but the thing is that they'll succeed. We just have to get a momentum. We're starting, you get a momentum to do that. But you're absolutely right. I think it's almost like too precious to hold it back, right? It's almost like there's a pressure to get it out there because so many will benefit, right? It's almost like reverse. Now we understand it and we recognize it. Right. It's like it's our responsibility to help the cause and move it to the next phase.
Very strong case. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree, I think. Any other questions?
Just I wanted to know that you have translated Maya as illusion of attachment. So what you want to say by that?
I think this is just we're just saying that root cause of deceit is ragdvesh, is what he's trying to say. I think it's just another translation of saying that it's just an English language thing. I think that what rather than talk about the kasai and go above the kasai, which is ragdvesh, is driving the core kasai, so it becomes the same target. So we are addressing basically ragdvesh, which is then giving your deceit, your greed, your anger, your ego. So it's kind of going one step beyond to what is it we're trying to hit. Of course, then after that is karma or the karma. So I think here the illusion is that you think you're angry, you think you're greedy, but actually it's the rag dvesh that's driving it. That's the illusion you're talking about. It's not just anger that you may be angry. It's my rag dvesh that is making me in a position to be angry, and then I'm angry. That's what it's trying to say. I don't know if it's correct, but that's what the message is. It's a rag dvesh that's driving your kashai.
Yes.
So the illusion is I think it's just my greed, but actually rag dvesh is driving it. Illusion is I'm angry, but the rag dvesh is driving it. So if you understand your attachments and your desires, you break those, then you'll be less need to be angry or greedy. Is kind of what it's trying to say. Illusion of that.
Yeah, but this illusion is applicable in all the cases of all the four kashayas.
Right.
Is it? So just I was thinking that the conceitment which you preferred for right translation as of Maya, the word Maya.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Conceit is and deceit are both applicable.
Yes. Yes. So
Deceit is my moment and conceit is my status. You know, I'm conceited person and I use deceit. It's more like conceit is a based on what I'm trying to explain, conceit is more descriptive than deceit, but they're related.
Yes.
It's subtle English. It's I think we had that issue before, and conceit was a better word because deceit translates differently. Correct.
Yeah. Yes. And this is the concept of anupreksha is a kind of a superimposition on the wrong habits or negative emotions. So that is a kind of it is a process or method of erasing the what we say the wrong habits or replacing at least replacing. So it is sometimes we say that it is superimposition on the whenever we have any kind of malevolent waves inside in the form of these different kashayas, we need some powerful benevolent what we say emotions to supersede that. So, because the waves cannot be cut or cannot be deleted easily, but if you superimpose on that particular wrong habit or a negative emotion, then it is possible to erase by that process. So it is a kind of superimposition which we are doing. So just I'm telling how we understand it, whether it is correct or not. Just you to let us know.
Well, it makes sense. To be, it's almost like, conceptually, even in CBT, what happens is you're redirecting it to the other side. You're redirecting anger to the other emotion, and you're just training them. Once you get angry, you just switch to the other one. You switch to the other one. So superimposition is right, because I don't think even in our karma theory we can suppress and we can supersede it, but it's still going to come. We just don't react to it, I think, is the way to look at it. If a karma erupts and we get anger, we just don't react to it. Right? So superimposition makes sense because I'm just going to behave differently and not react to it. But I can't, when it's arisen, I can't stop it. I just cannot react to it. So I think it's the same thing. So I think supervision is a good word, Samiji. That would be good word to use, and better explain what you're saying. I think that's correct, because I don't think we can stop the karma anger arising when it's arising. It's too late to stop it, but I cannot react to it and switch my mind to something else. Maybe that's what you're saying. That would be superimposition, I suppose. That's a good word, I think.
And it is also the contemplative affirmations, whatever positive affirmations we are making in contemplations, they are a kind of antidote to the malevolent waves of our kashayas.
Yes, and they use the same term, even in CBT, they use
Yes.
antidote. So it's almost like when I looked at it, it's almost, if I use a different translation, it's almost identical. Of course, the limited. Yes, absolutely.
So in scriptures, it is said, what we say, pratipaksha. Pratipaksha means antidote or antithesis. Okay, so yeah, so if you are creating the more powerful antidote on your negative emotions, then they will automatically be suppressed or erased, and the new thought, new emotions, which are positive ones and the spiritual ones, they can they can work. So pratipaksha bhavana, it means we are using the antidotes to control our negative emotions or attachment and aversion.
Yep. I think Sheetal may be next, if there are no other questions.
Okay, yes. Now.
Vandami Naman Sami Samriji. This is very new to me, to the PowerPoint and the presentation. So can you see my screen?
No, it is not opened. Share. Now it is. But make it large.
Go full screen, Sheetal. And at the bottom, there are some, this one here. Can you, this screen, at the bottom, there are some symbols where you have plus and minus, just left to it on your slide.
Okay.
Right hand bottom, there is a plus and minus, right?
Okay.
Just left to it is that screen symbol. Hit that.
Is that better?
No.
You can go to slideshow.
Yeah, slideshow also will do the same.
Yes, slideshow. Okay, so it will be full.
Slideshow is at the top. Yeah, right there.
Yes, correct.
This one?
You're sharing the wrong screen though. You're sharing the screen.
You must have two screens.
You want to switch it to the other screen so that we're
display settings at the top. There is a display settings on
display
the top.
Setting.
Hit that, and then swap presentation view. Yeah. There. Okay.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. My topic today is contemplation. And contemplation means concentration of thought. So it's an important step in Preksha meditation. Preksha meditation is founded by Acharya Mahapragya Ji in 1970. And the meaning of Preksha comes from the Sanskrit word iksha, which means to perceive. So pra plus iksha becomes perceive profoundly and in depth. Of our consciousness. Now, this is a slide for comparing preksha with anupreksha. In preksha, we sit steadily and perceive an object like our body or the breath. We try to perceive the subtle vibrations and feel that. In preksha meditation, we stop all our thinking and our thoughts kind of fade away. Whereas anupreksha is concentration of thought. We're consciously thinking, and it requires entire mental faculty to be focused in searching for the truth. Anupreksha is practiced in two ways. We exercise our concentration on the reflection of a single theme, like transitoriness. So it is a focused reflection on a single theme. And the second way to do anupreksha is autosuggestion, which is like an attitudinal change for our kashais, like our fear. So preksha and anupreksha are both part of meditation. In preksha, we are consciously perceiving, and in anupreksha, we're concentrating on the thought. Contemplative meditation is an objective reflection of what is perceived during preksha meditation. So in preksha meditation, we perceive the body as it is perishable, it is separate from our conscious self, and that is the perception. We perceive the reality as it is without any likes or dislikes. We perceive the truth. So this is preksha meditation, and anupreksha, the other word for anupreksha is also bhavana. And bhavana is intense concentration on a single subject. The analogy that we use is just like how a ferry boat is used to cross a river and make us reach on the other side. Similarly, with autosuggestion, we can cross the river of our mundane existence. Anupreksha is a method of bringing about a change in one's character. It achieves permanent attitudinal change. It helps remove negative attitudes such as jealousy, cruelty, deceit, fear, and lust. And it helps us develop virtues like compassion, tolerance, and honesty. We are familiar with the 16 bhavanas. These, if we contemplate on these 16 bhavanas, it helps us bring an attitudinal change in ourselves, a positive change. So these are some of the bhavanas like transitoriness, helplessness, contemplation on transmigration, solitariness, separation, uncleanliness, asuchi bhavana, influxes, bhavana of restraint, disassociation, righteousness, bhavana of the universe, bhavana, and others. Some examples of contemplation are transitoriness, which is our bodies, where we think, we contemplate on our bodies, a mortal being. The nature of our body is perishable, impermanent, and transient. Instead, we should focus on our true self, which is eternal. So that is one bhavana. Helplessness. When one dies, one has to leave behind one's family, one's material possession. So nobody can save us from the jaws of death. So that is helplessness. Mundaneness. The bhavana where we contemplate on the vicious cycle of birth, death, and rebirth again. Solitariness, where one enters the world alone and leaves the world alone. The contemplation of separateness, we decide the difference between pleasure and pain, health and sickness, and uncleanliness. Human body is dirty, filled with filthy waste products. The main way our autosuggestion will work and will be successful is we have to be completely in a relaxed and motionless state of our body with full mental concentration. We also have to have an intense willing in the form of steady repetition. So we have to have that willingness. And repeated autosuggestion and intense willing can modify our psychological distortions, change our attitude and behavioral patterns, and generally help develop our personality. Now, the technique of contemplative meditation, we've seen over the last few days with Samniji's guidance, we've been preparing for this meditation. We have the right posture, either Sukhasan, Padmasan, or half lotus posture. And our mudra can be Gyan Mudra or Vidrag Mudra. We start with the recitation of Arham or Om or Mahapran Dwani. And the first step of meditation is relaxation, where we relax our entire body, doing Kayotsarg. We experience the relaxation, and at the same time, we are aware of our spiritual self. The second step is internal trip, which is Antaryatra, where we try to feel the vibrations coming from our Shakti Kendra, which is the bottom of our spinal cord, to the top of our head, to the Gyan Kendra. So we try to feel the subtle vibrations in the internal trip. The third step of contemplative meditation is contemplation or anupreksha, where we meditate on one of the bhavanas that we looked ahead. And we conclude the meditation with Jyoti Kendra Preksha. I'm going to be telling more about the steps in contemplation in the next slide, a little bit more detail. So contemplation, we contemplate on the truth. My slide moving. Yeah. So this is an example of contemplation of transitoriness, where we reflect on what is transient and what is not, which is not permanent. So we contemplate and then actually experience the ultimate separateness between yourself and the premises, the place where you're sitting in. We also contemplate on the location of where you're sitting, either on your chair or on your asan. We contemplate on the clothes worn by us, our body, your somatic and psychosomatic diseases. So we're fine tuning our mind to observe these little things, and our mental problems. We contemplate on our mental problems, our urges and impulses, our emotions and passions. We look at our negative attitudes and bad habits. And then we contemplate on the subtlemost micro body. This is, I'm sorry, my slides are. Sorry, I haven't done this in like 15 years, so bear with me. How do I go back? Okay, there. So yeah, we're trying to contemplate on how we can go deep inside ourselves and think about all these things, and then we reverse back. However we came, we reverse back. So we contemplate on our karman sharir, our bad habits, our impulses, our mental problems, our body, and we go back. And then at the end, we recite this, saying our body is transitory, sickness is transitory, mental problems are transitory, emotions and passions are transitory. We kind of repeat this sentence 9 times, so our mind is fully focused on realizing the truth that this body is transitory. And this is the way we do the contemplation. The benefits of contemplation are it helps us realize the truth. It helps us be free from our sufferings, where, most of our sufferings arise from our sickness, of being old and death. People have fears of all of these. And when we do positive affirmations or contemplation on these things, we become aware that, these are all temporary things. Preksha meditation helps us in calming the body and mind and release endorphins, which in turn help us block our sensations of pain. If we are in pain, like with my father doing Santhara, we're trying to leave our body, and at the same time, we're aware that, of the truth. So our Preksha meditation helps us calm our body. It also helps balance the hormones as the hypothalamus and pituitary glands are active. Um, it helps us remain happy in severe pain. We get the feeling of bliss and samadhi and blessedness when our meditation is deep. We also are free from adi, vyadi, and upadi. And autosuggestion brings about an attitudinal and positive behavioral changes, like we saw in Devendra Bhai's slide as well, how it affects our mind, and it helps us change our negative uh, thought processes and helps us get out of our bad habits. There are several studies on affirmations, on contemplative meditation. And one such study is done. It's called a meta-analysis of loving kindness meditation on self-compassion. This study was done over two decades, almost 20 years, and they collected a lot of research on the feeling of self-compassion, well-being, and psychopathology symptoms. And sorry, my slide did not come through on the next. My 15 slide is okay. But the study discussed how giving positive affirmations transformed people's mindset and made them more happy, more content, and they were relieved of their stress, and they had self-compassion for themselves. And over and over again, as we've seen over the past few days, that Preksha meditation is a very scientific technique for altering and helping ourselves in transforming our negative attitudes into positive attitudes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheetal. Sheetal has presented first time. She was very much hesitant to present the things through PowerPoint, but I said that from somewhere you have to start. So after presenting through two, three times, you can get good confidence to present the things in a better way. So you have done your best effort and presented contemplation very well, as you have understood that why we are practicing this contemplation and what kind of effects we can get out of it. So thank you for your good effort. If somebody has any question with Sheetal, then anybody can ask. So
I would just like to say that it's not a good presentation. It was very complimentary. We've got a good day today, just talking about contemplation in different ways. I think you drove the home the message well. I think the need of contemplation, I think, is very clear. After today, your talk and how it affects in a global way. And I think the study you showed 20 years, a good one. I didn't know that study, so I'll look at the reference. But I think it shows you how long-term practice has benefits. It's not just it doesn't. I do it once, I'm done. You have to you do it and you keep getting more and more benefit. Some things you do and you just got to you exercise and get to better strength, and you stay there. But this, you keep going, get deeper and deeper. And I think the perpetual continuing of these techniques is a message for all of us. I think we don't necessarily do this as we should. So I think I thank you for that. I think that study kind of emphasizes how you keep sustaining this will be helpful.
Yes. And there were so many studies. I've also researched Brahmakumari Shivani Didi, and she herself, like a lot of people in India follow her, and we also in Preksha meditation. I've been doing Mangal Bhavana for so many years, and every morning as soon as I get up, I say the Mangal Bhavana. Let me be endowed with spiritual wealth, Shri Sampanno Ham Syam, and there are 8 bhavanas like that. It really makes my day go by in a positive way. I'm aware of how I'm reacting to situations, and it's a really good practice. So, contemplation has helped me personally as well in a great big way.
And the process of doing it in the way that we're taught, we relax to the preliminary exercises, and then maybe some guards so you can relax. And then we do it. Imagine the power of that,
Yes.
I think that's kind of like like what you're doing, but yet another boost to what you're doing, right? Another boost because you're digging deep and going in deeper and longer. I don't think it'll happen right away. Somebody says half an hour. I think our minds will wander. But I do think that it seems like that is the way to go, because I think it frees up for a lot of attachments, and false aspirations. And so even if it's a superficial level, brain level, we're thinking, and at some point we'll get to that deeper level, and connect with our Atma, because I think that's the power of this. It's more than just means feel better and getting our kasa under control, which is very important. I think its ability to go deeper is I think very, very important to acknowledge, as you did.
And this is used so commonly in the sports world, positive reinforcement, but to a limited extent. It's the same concept, but in sports we see, on TV and in stadiums and all, they in the locker room and everywhere, they positive reinforcement. Yes, we can do it. It is same concept, contemplation of positivity. So it makes us, it does suddenly has an effect on our psyche.
Dr. Devendra has rightly said, it is more deeper concept actually, and not just to have emotional control or to change the wrong habits, but it is to analyze the truth which you experience during meditation, or the universal truths of life. For example, the transitoriness, solitariness, okay, otherness. So all these different 16 types of anuprekshas, they are the universal truths or realities which we have to accept in our life to live a better life, okay, or to change the wrong conceptions reality regarding the realities, okay. So to remove the wrong conceptions, these anuprekshas have been practiced for centuries as the part of swadhyaya in Jain tradition. There are 5 steps of Swadhyaya, Vachana, Prachana, Parivartana, Anupreksha, and Dharmakatha. So the Anupreksha has been accepted as a powerful tool for realizing, for analyzing the truth. Truth can be ingrained deeply by Anupreksha only. And you can get new vision if you are contemplating on the truth. So this is a really very deeper concept which has been practiced for centuries, and even in present time, the monks and nuns, they contemplate on the scriptural truths. Okay, so that is their part of their spiritual practice.
Vandam, you said Vanchna, Pruchna,
Parivartana, Anupreksha, and Dharmakatha.
Thank you.
Sometimes it is said that we experience so many things, but it never remains in our mind for a longer period. Anupreksha can help us to retain all those experiences or experience of realities for longer period and forever. They can become the part of your consciousness or your life by Anupreksha only. We can sit in meditation for half an hour, not more than that, or sometimes we have lesser time or little bit more time. But after experiencing, if we don't reflect on that or we don't contemplate on that, then the life cannot change. It remains always as it is. Okay, so for bringing what we say transformation, real transformation, Anupreksha can help us.
It affects our subconscious in a very positive way. So
Yes.
it goes
Yes.
really deep inside. Yeah.
Yes. The what we say, the note of the attachment and aversion is so deeply rooted in our consciousness that it is not easy to eradicate that.
Yes.
So by contemplating on the truth that attachment and aversion are harmful for us, we have to get rid of them so that only we can get rid of the karmic baggages. So all these truths can be, until and unless they are contemplated, the attachment and aversion cannot be eradicated. Okay, so it is necessary that we have to make contemplation on the truths which we have learned through scriptures, through any experience of any great person or great personages. So whatever truth we are accepting that these are really the truth, then they should be the part of our life, and it can be possible with the help of this Anuprekshas. So thank you very much for both the presentation presenters. Dr. Devendra is is well versed and very expert in presenting things in a very scientific manner and including their spirituality. So he knows very well how to present the things so that it can be accepted by the wider what we say wider humanity or public. So this is the right way we have to learn from him, and Sheetal has also tried her best to understand the contemplation in a right manner. So thanks both of the presenters.
Thank you, everybody.
So now we have to leave, and I hope all are focusing on the quiz which I have already sent to all of you regarding the medical questions. Okay, so be aware of that. On almost all the PPTs I have uploaded in the particular modules. So if you want to go through the PPTs, then they are available in the Google Classroom modules. Okay.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes.